Good wishes to all of you. India Physical Environment Textbook in Geography for Class 11, Chapter 3, Dryness System audiobook. You have observed water flowing through the rivers, nalas, and even channels during rainy season which drain the excess water. Had these channels not been there, large scale flooding would have occurred. Wherever channels are ill defined or choked, flooding is a common phenomenon. The flow of water through well defined channels is known as dryness, and the network of such channels is called a dryness system. The dryness pattern of an area is the outcome of the geological time period, nature and structure of rocks, topography, slope, amount of water flowing, and the periodicity of the flow. Do you have a river near your village or city? Have you ever been there for boating or bathing? It is perennial, always with water or ephemeral water during rainy season and dry otherwise. Do you know that rivers flow in the same direction? You have studied about slopes in the other two textbooks of geography, NCRT 2006 in this class. Can you then explain the reason for water flowing from one direction to the other? Why do the rivers originating from the Himalayas in the northern India and the western Ghat in the southern India flow towards the east and discharge their waters in the Bay of Bengal? Take a look at figure 3.1, a river in the mountainous region. A river drains the water collected from a specific area, which is called its catchment area. An area drained by a river and its tributaries is called a drainage basins. Important drainage patterns. The drainage patterns resembling the branches of a tree is known as dendritic, the examples of which are the rivers of northern plain. When the rivers originate from a hill and flow in all directions, the drainage pattern is known as radial. The rivers originating from the Amarkanthak range present a good example of it. When the primary tributaries of rivers flow parallel to each other and secondary tributaries join them at right angles, the pattern is known as trellis. When the rivers discharge their water from all directions in a lake or depression, the pattern is known as centripetal. Find out some of the patterns in the topo sheet given in Chapter 5 of Practical Work in Geography Part 1 NCRT 2006. The boundary line separating one drainage basin from the other is known as the watershed. Take a look at this map, figure 3.2, major rivers of India. The catchments of large rivers are called river basins, while those of small rivulets and rills are often referred to as watersheds. There is, however, a slight difference between a river basin and a watershed. Watersheds are small in area, while the basins cover large areas. River basins and watersheds are marked by unity. What happens in one part of the basin or watershed directly affects the other parts and the unit as a whole. That is why they are accepted as the most appropriate micro, meso, or macro planning regions. Indian drainage system may be divided on various bases on the basis of discharge of water, orientations to the sea. It may be grouped into the Arabian Sea drainage and the Bay of Bengal drainage. They are separated from each other through the Delhi Ridge, the Aravalis, and the Sahyadris. Water divided is shown by a line in figure 3.1. Nearly 77% of the drainage area consisting of the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, the Mahanadi, and Krishna, etc., is oriented towards the Bay of Bengal, while 23% comprising the Indus, the Narmada, the Tapi, the Mahi, and the Periyar systems discharge their waters in the Arabian Sea. On the basis of the size of the watershed, the drainage basins of India are grouped into three categories: major river basins with more than 20,000 square kilometer of catchment area. It includes 14 drainage basins such as the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, the Krishna, the Tapi, the Narmada, the Mahi, the Penar, the Sabarmati, the Barak, etc. Appendix 3. Medium river basins with catchment area between catchment area. It includes 14 drainage basins such as the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, the Krishna, the Tapi, the Narmada, the Mahi, the Penar, the Sabarmati, the Barak, etc. Appendix 3. Medium river basins with catchment area between 2,000 to 20,000 square kilometer incorporating 44 rivers basins such as the Kalindi, the Periyar, the Meghna, etc. Minor river basins with the catchment area of less than 2,000 square kilometer include fairly good numbers of rivers flowing in the area of low rainfall. If you look at the figure 3.1, you can see that many rivers have their sources in the Himalayas and discharge their waters either in the Bay of Bengal or in the Arabian Sea. Identify these rivers of North India. Large rivers flowing on the Peninsular Plateau have their origin in the Western Ghats and discharge their waters in the Bay of Bengal. Identify these rivers of the South India. The Narmada and Tapi are two large rivers which are expectations. They, along with many small rivers, discharge their waters in the Arabian Sea. Name these rivers of the western coastal region from the Konkan to the Malabar coast on the basis of the mode of origin, nature and characteristics. The Indian dryness may also be classified into the Himalayan dryness and the peninsular dryness. Although it has the problem of including the Chambal, the Betwa, the Sun, etc., which are much older in age and origin than other rivers that have their origin in the Himalayas. It is the most accepted basis of classification. Hence, this scheme has been followed in this book. Drainage systems of India. Indian drainage system consists of a large number of small and big rivers. It is the outcome of the evolutionary process of the three major physiography units and the nature and characteristics of precipitation. The Himalayan drainage. The Himalayan drainage system has evolved through a long geological history. It mainly includes the Ganga, the Indus, and the Brahmaputra river basins. Since these are fed both by melting of snow and precipitation, rivers of this system are perennial. These rivers pass through the gained gorges carried out by the erosional activity carried on simultaneously with the uplift of the Himalayas. Besides deep gorges, these rivers also form V-shaped valleys, rapids and waterfalls in their mountainous course. Take a look at figure 2.3.3 rapids. While entering the plains, they form depositional features like flat valleys, oxbow lakes, floodplains, braided channels, and deltas near the river mouth. In the Himalayan regions, the course of these rivers is highly tortuous, but over the plains, they display a strong meandering tendency and shift their courses frequently. River Kosi, also known as the Sorrow of Bihar, has been notorious for frequently changing its course. The Kosi brings huge quantity of sediments from its upper reaches and deposits it in the plains. The course get blocked and consequently the river changes its course. Why does the Kosi river bring such huge quantity of sediments from the upper reaches? Do you think that the discharge of the water in the rivers in general and the Kosi in particular remains the same, or does it fluctuate? When does the river course receive the maximum quantity of water? What are the positive and negative effects of flooding? Evolution of the Himalayan drainage. There are differences of opinion about the evolution of the Himalayan rivers. However, geologists believe that a mighty river called Shivalik or Indo-Burma traversed the entire longitudinal extent of the Himalaya from Assam to Punjab and onwards to Sindh and finally discharged into the Gulf of Sindh near Lower Punjab during the Miocene period some 5 to 24 million years ago. See the table of geological timescale in Chapter 2 of Fundamentals of Physical Geography, NCERT 2006. The remarkable continuity of the Shivalik and its lacustrine origin and alluvial deposits consisting of sands, silt, clay, boulders, and conglomerates support this viewpoint. It is opined that in due course of time, Indo-Burma River was dismembered into three main drainage systems. The Indus and its five tributaries in the western part, the Ganga and its Himalayan tributaries in the central part, and the stretch of the Brahmaputra in Assam and its Himalayan tributaries in the eastern part. The dismemberment was probably due to the Pleistocene upheaval in the western Himalayas, including the uplift of the Potwar Plateau, Delhi Ridge, which acted as the water divider between the Indus and Ganga drainage systems. Likewise, the downthrusting of the Malda Gap area between the Rajmahal Hills and the Meghalaya Plateau during the mid Pleistocene period diverted the Ganga and the Brahmaputra systems to flow toward the Bay of Bengal. The river system of the Himalayan Dryness. The Himalayan Dryness consists of several river systems, with the following are the major river systems. The Indus system. It is one of the largest river basins of the world, covering an area of 1165,000 square kilometers. In India, it is 321,289 square kilometers and a total length of 2,880 kilometers. In India, 1,114 kilometers. The Indus, also known as the Sindhu, is the westernmost of the Himalayan rivers in India. It originates from a glacier near Bokarchu, 31 degrees 15 north latitude and 81 degrees 40 east longitude. In the Tibetan region, at the altitude of 4,164 meters in the Kailash mountain range, in Tibet, it is known as Singi Kamban or Lion's Mouth after flowing in the northwest direction between the Ladakh and Jaskar ranges. It passes through Ladakh and Baltistan. It cuts across the Ladakh range, forming a spectacular gorge near Gilgit in Jammu and Kashmir. It enters into Pakistan near Chilas in the Dardistan region. Find out the area known as Dardistan. The Indus receives a number of Himalayan tributaries such as the Shyok, the Gilgit, the Jaskar, the Hansa, the Nubra, the Shighar, the Gasting and the Dras. It finally emerges out of the hills near Attock, where it receives the Kabul River on its right bank. The other important tributaries joining the right bank of the Indus are the Kurram, the Tochi, the Gomal, the Vaibhava and the Sangar. They all originate in the Suleiman Ranges. The river flows southward and receives Panjnad a little above Mithankot. The Panjnad is the name given to the five rivers of Punjab, namely the Setluj, the Bias, the Ravi, the Chenab, and the Jhelum. It finally discharges into the Arabian Sea. Arabian Sea east of Karachi. The Indus flows in India only through Jammu and Kashmir. The Jhelum, an important tributary of the Indus, rises from a spring at Vernak, situated at the foot of the Pirpanjal in the southeastern part of the Valley of Kashmir. It flows through Srinagar and the Vular Lake before entering Pakistan through a deep narrow gorge. It joins the Chenab near Ganj in Pakistan. The Chenab is the largest tributary of the Indus. It is formed by two streams, the Chandra and the Bhagha, which join at Tandi near Kelong in Himachal Pradesh. Hence, it is also known as Chandrabhag. The river flows for 1,180 kilometers before entering into Pakistan. Dhiravi is another important tributary of the Indus. It rises west of the Rohtang Pass in the Kulu hills of Himachal Pradesh and flows through the Chamba Valley of the state before entering Pakistan and joining the Chenab near Sarai Sidhu. It drains the area lying between the southeastern part of the Pir Panjal and the Dauldar ranges. The Bias is another important tributary of the Indus, originating from the Bias Kund near the Rohtang Pass at an elevation of 4,000 meters above the mean sea level. The river flows through the Kulu Valley and forms gorges at Khati and Largi in the Daladhar range. It enters the Punjab plains where it meets the Satluj near Haraik. The Satluj originates in the Rakstal near Manasarovar at an altitude of 4,555 meters in Tibet, where it is known as Langshan Kambab. It flows almost parallel to the Indus for about 400 kilometers before entering India and comes out of a gorge at Ropar. It passes through the Shipkila on the Himalayan ranges and enters the Punjab plains. It is an antecedent river. It is a very important tributary as it feeds the canal system of the Bakra Nangal project. The Ganga system. The Ganga is the most important river of India both from the point of view of its basin and cultural significance. It rises in the Gangotri glacier near Gaumukh, 3900 meters in the Uttarkasi district of Uttarakhand. Here it is known as the Bhagirathi. It cuts through the central and the lesser Himalayas in narrow gorges. At Devprayag, the Bhagirathi meets the Alkananda. Hereafter, it is known as the Ganga. The Alkananda has its source in the Satopant glacier above Badrinath. The Alkananda consists of the Dauli and the Vishnu Ganga, which meet at Joshimath or Vishnu Prayag. The other tributaries of Alkananda, such as the Pindar, joins at it at Karnaprayag, while Mandakini or Kali Ganga meets it at Rudraprayag. The Ganga enters the plains at Haridwar. From here, it flows first to the south, then to the southeast and east before splitting into two distributaries, namely the Bhagirathi and the Padma. Do you know Namami Ganga program is an integrated conservation mission approved as a flagship program by the Union government in June 2004 with the twin objectives of effective abatement of pollution, conservation and rejuvenation of the national river Ganga. Main pillars of the Namami Ganga program are sewerage treatment infrastructure, riverfront development, river surface cleaning, biodiversity, afforestation, public awareness, industrial effluent monitoring, Ganga Gram. You may explore about this project at this site. The river has a length of 2525 kilometers. If it is shared by Uttarakhand 110 kilometers and Uttar Pradesh 1450 kilometers, Bihar 445 kilometers and West Bengal 520 kilometers. The Ganga basin covers about 8.6 lakh square kilometer area in India alone. The Ganga river system is the largest in India, having a number of perennial and non-perennial rivers originating in the Himalayas in the north and the Peninsula in the south, respectively. The Sun is its major right bank tributary. The important left bank tributaries are the Ramganga, the Gomati, the Gagra, the Gandhak, the Kosi, and the Mahananda. The river finally discharges itself into the Bay of Bengal near the Sagar Island. The Yamuna, the westernmost and the longest tributary of the Ganga, has its source in the Yamunotri glacier on the western slopes of Bandarpanch range, 6,316 kilometers. It joins the Ganga at Prayag, Allahabad. It is joined by the Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa, and the Ken on its right bank, which originates from the peninsular plateau, while the Hindan, the Rin, the Sengar, the Varuna, etc., join it on its left bank. Much of its water feeds the western and eastern Yamuna and the Agra canals for irrigation purposes. Name the states which are drained by the river Yamuna. The Chambal rises near Mu in the Malwa plateau of Madhya Pradesh and flows northwards through a Georgia ports of Kota in Rajasthan, where the Gandhi Sagar Dam has been constructed. From Kota. It traverses down to Bundi, Savai Madhopur, and Dholpur, and finally joins the Yamuna. The Chambal is famous for its badland topography called the Chambal ravines. The Ganga comprises two streams, namely Kaligandak and Trishula Ganga. It rises in the Nepal Himalayas between the Dhaulagiri and Mount Everest and drains the central part of Nepal. It enters the Ganga plain in Champaran district of Bihar and joins the Ganga at Sonpur near Patna. The Gangara originates is the glaciers of Mapchuchanga after collecting the waters of its tributaries Tila, Sethi, and Beri. It comes out of the mountain, cutting a deep gorge at Shishapani, Shishpani, the river Sarda, Kali or Khali Ganga joins it in the plain before it finally meets the Ganga at Chapra. The Kosi is an antecedent river with its source to the north of Mount Everest in Tibet, where its main stream Aran rises after crossing the central Himalayan in Nepal. It is joined by the Sun Kosi from the west and the Tamur Kosi from the east. It forms Sapt Kosi after uniting with the river Arun. The Ramganga is comparatively a small river rising in the Garhwal hills near Garrison. It changes its course to the southwest direction after crossing the Shivalik and enters into the plains of Uttar Pradesh near Nazibabad. Finally, it joins the Ganga near Kanauj. The Damodar occupies the eastern margins of the Chota Nagpur plateau where it flows through a rift valley and finally joins the Hugli. The Barakar is its main tributary, once known as the Sorrow of Bengal. The Damodar has been now tamed by the Damodar Valley Corporation, a multi-purpose project. The Sarda or Saryu River rises in the Milam Glacier in the Nepal Himalayas where it is known as the Gorji Ganga. Along the Indo-Nepal border, it is called Kali or Chauk, where it joins the Ghaghara. The Mahananda is another important tributary of the Ganga rising in the Darjeeling Hills. It joins the Ganga as its large left bank tributary in West Bengal. The Sun is a large south bank tributary of the Ganga originating in the Amarkanthak plateau after forming a series of waterfalls at the edge of the plateau. It reaches Arah west of Patna to join the Ganga. The Brahmaputra system. The Brahmaputra, one of the largest rivers of the world, has its origin in the Chemayungthang glacier of the Kailash range near the Manasarovar lake. From here, it traverses eastward longitudinally for a distance of nearly 1200 kilometers in a dry and flat region of southern Tibet, where it is known as the Teshangpo, which means the purifier. The Rango Stango is the major right bank tributary of this river in Tibet. It emerges as a turbulent and dynamic river after carving out a deep gorge in the central Himalayas near Namcha Bharwa. 7,755 meters, the river emerges from the foothills under the name of Siang or Dihang. It enters India west of Sadia town in Arunachal Pradesh. Flowing southwest, it receives its main left bank tributaries with Dibang or Sikhang and Lohit. Thereafter, it is known as the Brahmaputra. The Brahmaputra receives numerous tributaries in its 750 kilometers long journey through the Assam Valley. Its major left bank tributaries are the Burhi, Daihang, and Dansari South, whereas the important right bank tributaries are the Subansiri, Kaming, Manas, and Sankosh. The Subansiri, which has its origin in Tibet, is an antecedent river. The Brahmaputra enters into Bangladesh near Dhubri and flows southward. In Bangladesh, the Tista joins it on its right bank from where the river is known as the Jammu. It finally merges with the river Padma, which falls in the Bay of Bengal. The Brahmaputra is well known for floods, channel shifting, and bank erosion. This is due to the fact that most of its tributaries are large and bring large quantity of sediments owing to heavy rainfall in its catchment area. The peninsular drainage system. The peninsular drainage system is older than the Himalayan one. This is evident for the broad, largely graded shallow valleys and the maturity of the rivers. The Western Ghats running close to the western coast act as the water divide between the major peninsular rivers, discharging their water in the Bay of Bengal and as small rivulets joining the Arabian Sea. Most of the major peninsular rivers except Narmada and Tapi flow from west to east. The Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa, the Ken, the Sun, originating in the originating in the northern part of the peninsula belong to the Ganga river system. The other major river systems of the peninsular drainage are the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna, and the Kaveri. Peninsular rivers are characterized by fixed colors, absence, uh, absence of meanders, and non-perennial flow of water. The Narmada and the Tapi, which flow through the Rift Valley, are, however, exceptions. The evolution of peninsular drainage system. Three major geological events in the distant past have shaped the present drainage system of peninsular India. Subsidence of the western flank of the peninsula leading to its submergence below the sea during the early territory period. Generally, it has disturbed the system, symmetrical plan of the river on either side of the original watershed. Upheaval of the Himalayas when the northern flank of the peninsular block was subjected to subsidence and the consequent through faulting, the Narmada and the Tapi flow in through faults and fill the original cracks with their detritus materials. Hence, there is a lack of alluvial and deltaic deposits in these rivers. Slight tilting, slight tilting of the peninsular block from northwest to the south and eastern direction gave orientation to the entire drainage system towards the Bay of Bengal during the same period. River systems of the peninsular drainage. There are a large number of river systems in the peninsular drainage. A brief account of the major peninsular river systems is given below. The Mahanadi rises near Shihwa in Raipur district of Chhattisgarh and runs through Odisha to discharge its water into the Bay of Bengal. It is 851 kilometers long and its catchment area spreads over 1.42 lakh square kilometer. Some navigation is carried on in the lower course of this river. 53% of the drainage basins of this river lies in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, while 47% lies in Odisha. The Godavari is the largest peninsular river system. It is also called the Dakshin Ganga. It rises in the Nasik district of Maharashtra and discharges its water into the Bay of Bengal. Its tributaries run through the states of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and Andhra Pradesh. It is 1465 kilometers along with a catchment area spreading over 3.13 lakh square kilometers. 49% of this lies in Maharashtra, 20% of 20% in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, and the rest in Andhra Pradesh. The Penganga, the Indravati, the Pranhita, and the Manjra are its principal tributaries. The Godavari is subjected to heavy floods in its lower reaches to the south of Polavaram, where it forms a picturesque, picturesque gorge. It is navigable only in the deltaic stretch. The river after Rajamandri splits into several branches forming a large delta. The Krishna is the second largest east flowing peninsular river which rises near Mahabaleshwar in Sahyadri. Its total length is 1401 kilometers. The Koina, the Tungabhadra, and the Bhima are its major tributaries of the total catchment area of the Krishna. 27% lies in Maharashtra, 44% in Karnataka, and 29% in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. The Kaveri rises in Brahmagiri Hills, 1341 kilometers of Kogadu district in Karnataka. Its length is 800 kilometers and it drains an area of 81,155 square kilometers. Since the upper catchment area receives rainfall during the Southwest monsoon season summer and the lower part during the northeast monsoon season winter. The river carries water throughout the year with comparatively less fluctuation than the other peninsular rivers. About 3% of the Kaveri basins falls in area in Kerala, 41% in Kerala and Karnataka, and 56% in Tamil Nadu. Its important tributaries are the Kabini, the Bhavani, and the Amravati. The Narmada originates on the western flank of the Amarkantak Plateau at a height of about 1057 meters, flowing in a rift valley between the Satpura in the south and the Vindhya range in the north. It forms a picturesque gorge in marble rocks and Downthar Duandhar waterfall near Jabalpur. After flowing a distance of about 1312 kilometers, it meets the Arabian Sea south of Bauruch, forming a broad 27 kilometers long estuary. Its catchment area is about 98,796 square kilometers. The Sardar Sarovar project has been constructed on this river. Collect information about Narmada River Conservation Mission named Namami Devi Narmade and discuss with your peers. The Tapi is the other important westward flowing river. It originates from Multani in the Betul district of Madhya Pradesh. It is 724 kilometers long and drains an area of 65,145 square kilometers. Nearly 79% of its basin lies in Maharashtra, 15% in Madhya Pradesh, and the remaining 6% in Gujarat. Luni is the largest river system of Rajasthan west of Aravalli. It originates near Pushkar in two branches, that is the Saraswati and the Sabarmati, which join with each other at Govindgarh. From here, the river comes out of Aravalli and is known as Luni. It flows towards the west till Telvara and then takes a southwest direction to join the run of Kutch. The entire river system is ephemeral. Smaller rivers flowing towards the west. The rivers flowing towards the Arabian Sea have short courses. Why do they have short courses? Find out the smaller rivers of Gujarat. The Shetlanji is one such river which rises near Dalkhava in Amreli district. The Badra originates near Aniali village in Rajkot district. The Dhadhar rises near Ganthar village in Panchmahal district. Sabarmati and Mahi are the two famous rivers of Gujarat. Find out the places of confluence of these rivers. Find out some important west flowing rivers of Maharashtra. The Vaiterna rises from the Triambake Hills in Nasik district at an elevation of 670 meters. The Kali Nadi rises from Belgaum district and falls in the Karwar Bay. The source of Berti river lies in Hubli Darbar and traverses a course of 161 kilometers. The Sharavati is another important river in Karnataka flowing towards the west. The Sharavati originates in Shimoga district of Karnataka and drains a catchment area of 2209 square kilometers. Find out the name of the river on which the Gersopha jog fall is found. Goa has two important rivers which can be mentioned here. One is Mandovi and the other is Juri. You can locate them on the map. Kerala has narrow coastline. The longest river of Kerala, Bharatpusha, rises near Annamalai Hills. It is also known as Punani. It drains an area of 5,397 square kilometer. Compare its catchment area with that of the Sharavati River of Karnataka. The Periyar is the second largest river of Kerala. Its catchment area is 5,243 square kilometer. You can see that there is a marginal difference in the catchment area of the Bhartapuja and the Periyar rivers. Another river of Kerala worth mentioning is the Pambha river, which falls in the Vemobhanath lake after traversing a course of 177 kilometers. Teachers may explain the comparative importance of west flowing small rivers. river catchment area square kilometers. Sabarmati 21.674, Mahi 34,842, Dandar 2,770, Kali Nadi 5,179, Sharavati 2029, Bhartha Puja 5397, Periyar 5243. Small rivers flowing towards the east. There are a large number of rivers flowing towards the east coast with their tributaries. Can you name some of these rivers? There are small rivers which join the Bay of Bengal, though small. These are important in their own right. The Subarnareka, the Baitharani, the Brahmani, the Vamsadhara, the Pennar, the Palar, and the Vijay are important rivers. From out these rivers from the Atlas. Find out these rivers from the Atlas. Teachers may explain the comparative importance of east flowing small rivers. River catchment area square kilometer. Subarnareka 19,296, Baitharni 12,789, Brahmani 39,033, Penner 55,213, Palar 17,870. River rhythms. Do you know that the quantity of water flowing in a river channel is not the same throughout the year? It varies from season to season. In which seasons do you accept the maximum flow in Ganga and Kaveri? The pattern of flow of water in a river channel over a year is known as its rhythm. The North Indian rivers originating from the Himalayas are perennial as they are fed by glaciers through snowmelt and also receive rainfall water during rainy season. The rivers of South India do not originate from glaciers and their flow pattern witnesses fluctuations. The flow increases considerably during monsoon rains, thus the rhythm of the rivers of South India is controlled by rainfall, which also varies from one part of the peninsular plateau to the other. Take a look at table 3.1, comparison between the Himalayan and the peninsular river. Aspects: Himalayan river, peninsular river. Place of origin: Himalayan mountain covered with glaciers, peninsular plateau and central highland. Nature of flow: perennial, receive water from glacier and rainfall. Seasonal, depend on monsoon rainfall. Type of drainage: antecedent and consequent, leading to dendritic pattern in plains. Superimposed, rejuvenated, resulting in trellis, radial and rectangular patterns. Nature of river: long course flowing through the rugged mountains, experiencing headwards erosion and river capturing in plains, meandering and shifting of course. Smaller fixed course with well adjusted valleys. Catchment area: very large basins, relatively smaller basin. Age of the river: young and youthful, active and depending in the valleys. Old rivers with a grappled profile and have almost reached their base levels. The discharge is the volume of water flowing in a river measured over time. It is measured either in cusacks cubic feet per second or cumecs cubic meters per second. The Ganga has its minimum flow during the January-June period. The maximum flow is attained either in August or in September. After September, there is a steady fall in the flow. The river thus has a monsoon rhythm during the rainy season. There are striking differences in the river rhythms in the eastern and the western parts of the Ganga basin. The Ganga maintains a sizable flow in the early part of summer due to snow melt before the monsoon rains begin. The mean maximum discharge of the Ganga at Farakka is about 55,000 cusecs while the mean minimum is only 1300 cusecs. What factors are responsible for such a large difference? The two peninsular rivers display interesting differences in their rhythms. Compared to the Himalayan rivers, the Narmada has a very low volume of discharge from January to July, but it suddenly rises in August when the maximum flow is attained. The fall in October is as spectacular as the rise in August. The flow of water in the Narmada, as recorded at Garudeshwar, shows that the maximum flow is of the order of 2,300 cusecs. While the minimum flows is only 15 cusecs, the Godavari has the minimum discharge in May and the maximum in July August. After August, there is a sharp fall in water flow, although the volume of flow in October and months from January to May. The mean maximum discharge of the Godavari at Polavaram is 3,200 cusecs, while the mean minimum flow is only 50 cusecs. These figures give an idea of the rigor of the river. Extent of usability of river water. The rivers of India carry huge volumes of water per year, but it is unevenly distributed both in time and space. There are perennial rivers carrying water throughout the year, while the non perennial rivers have very little water during the dry seasons. During the rainy season, much of the water is wasted in floods and flows down into the sea. Similarly, when there is a flood in one part of the country, the other areas suffer from drought. Why does this happen? Is it the problem of availability of water resources or that of its management? Can you suggest some measures to mitigate the problems of floods and droughts simultaneously occurring in different parts of the country? See Chapter 7 of the book. Can these problems be solved or minimized by transferring the surplus water from one basin to the water deficit basins? Do we have some schemes of interbasin linkage? Teachers may explain the following examples: Periyar Diversion Scheme, Indira Gandhi Canal Project, Kurnool Kadapa Canal, Bias Atlas Link Canal, Ganga Kaveri Link Canal. Have you read in the newspaper about the linking of rivers? Do you think that digging a canal is enough to transfer water from the Ganga basin to the Peninsula River? What is the major problem? Consult chapter 2 of this book and find out the difficulties posed by the unevenness of the terrain. How can the water be lifted from the plain area to the plateau area? Is there sufficient surplus water in the North Indian rivers which can be transferred on a regular basis? Organize a debate on the whole issue and prepare a write up. How do you rank the following problems in using river water? No availability in sufficient quantity, river water pollution, load of silt in the river water, uneven seasonal flow of water, river water disputes between states, shrinking of channels due to the extension of settlements towards the Talweg. Why are the rivers polluted? Have you seen the dirty waters of cities entering into the rivers? Where do the industrial effluents and waste get disposed of? Most of the cremation grounds are on the banks of rivers, and the dead bodies are sometimes thrown in the rivers on the oceans of some festivals. The flowers and statues are immersed in the rivers. Large scale bathing and washing of clothes also pollute river waters. How can the rivers be made pollution free? Have you read about Ganga Action Plan or about a campaign for cleaning the Yamuna at Delhi? Collect materials on schemes for making rivers polluting free and organize the materials in a write up. Exercises. Choose the right answer from the four alternatives given below. Which one of the following rivers was known as the Sword of Bengal? The Gandak, the Kosi, the Son, the Damodar. Which one of the following rivers has the largest river basins in India? The Indus, the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, the Krishna. Which one of the following rivers is not included in Panchanad? Panchanad, the Ravi, the Indus, the Chenab, the Jhelum. Which one of the following rivers flows in a rift valley? The Son, the Yamuna, the Narmada, the Luni. Which one of the following is the place of confluence of the Alkananda and the Bhagirathi? Vishnuprayag, Karanprayag, Rudraprayag, Devaprayag. State the differences between the following rivers basin and watershed: dendritic and trellis drainage pattern, radial and centripetal drainage pattern, delta and estuary. Answer the following questions in about 30 words. What are the socio-economic of interlinking of rivers in India? Write the characteristics of the peninsular river. Answer the following questions in not more than 125 words. What are the important characteristic features of North Indian rivers? How are these differences from peninsular rivers? Suppose you are traveling from Haridwar to Siliguri along the foothills of the Himalayas. Name the important rivers you will come across. Describe the characteristics of any one of them. Project or activity. Study the Appendix 3 and answer the following questions. Which river has the largest proportion of catchment area in the country? Make a comparative bar diagram on a graph paper to show the length of the courses of the rivers. Thank you.